Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. So far, I've been your host, Zero Yeti. Without further ado, let's get into it with our animals of the week. First animal being Acrocanthosaurus, which is a genus of Carcharodontosaurid dinosaur that existed in what is now North America during the Aptian and early Albian stages of the early Cretaceous period, some 115 to 110 million years ago. The holotype and paratype specimens of Acrocanthosaurus, consisting of two partial skeletons, were unearthed from the Antlers Formation in Oklahoma during the 1940s. Both specimens were formally named and described in 1950 by American paleontologist J. Willis Stovall and Wang Langston Jr., who dubbed the animal Acrocanthosaurus Acoensis, from the Greek acra, meaning high, acantha, meaning thorn or spine, and sauros, meaning lizard, with the specific name referring to Akota County in Oklahoma, where the original specimens were found. Since then, four more fairly complete specimens have been recovered from Texas, Oklahoma, Wyoming, with fragmentary remains also being found in Arizona, Colorado, and possibly Maryland. Additionally, the Glen Rose Formation in central Texas preserves a trackway of many dinosaur footprints, including large three-toed footprints likely belonging to Acrocanthosaurus. Reaching some 30 to 40 feet in length and 10 to 12 feet tall at the hips, weighing around 8,000 to 12,000 pounds, Acrocanthosaurus was amongst the largest theropods known to exist, and as the name suggests, it is best known for its high neural spines on many of its vertebrae, which most likely support a ridge of muscle or fat over the animal's neck, back, and hips. In life, Acrocanthosaurus would have inhabited open woodlands, freshwater floodplains, and some, they weren't grasslands, grass hadn't evolved yet, but like fern prairies, that's the name for it. Where it lived alone or in small familial groups, occupying the niche of apex predator, living alongside and feeding upon other dinosaurs such as Tyrannosaurus, Deinonychus, Sauropelta, Astrodon, and Sauroposeidon. Next up is Mazothairos, which is an extinct genus of large, early flying insects which lived throughout what is now North America during the middle of the Pennsylvania epoch of the Carboniferous period, some 310 to 305 million years ago. The first remains of Mazothairos, consisting of a partial abdomen and thorax, along with fragmentary pieces of the wings, legs, and antennae, were unearthed in the Lodgerstate site known as the Mazon Creek Fossil Beds in modern-day Illinois, by paleontologists Dr. Kukalova Peck and Dr. Richardson in 1983. Its name comes from Mazo, derived from its location of the Mazon Creek Formation, and Theros, meaning hinge in Greek. Since then, several more, albeit partial specimens, have been recovered, reaching upwards of 30 inches in length, and with a 22-inch wingspan, Mazothairos was one of the largest insects not only ever fly, but to ever live, only being rivaled in size by the largest members of the order Meganeostoptera, such as Meganeura and Meganeuropsis. Mazothairos is also the largest known member of the order Palaeodictyoptera, a group of insects characterized by their distinctive beak-like mouth parts, which featured elongated, sharp, piercing stylets, and also possibly had a sucking pump-like organ which they would have used to pierce into plant tissue and then drink up the liquids. They are also known for the pair of winglets on their prothorax in front of their first pair of wings, which gave them the epithet six-winged insects and may have provided added lift to help them fly. In life, Mazothairos would have lived throughout the swamps and riverine deltas of what is now Illinois, feeding upon various forms of vegetation, such as various ferns and conifers and early trees, as it coexisted with the likes of other giant vertebrates, including beetles, griffin flies, scorpions, spiders, millipedes, centipedes, crustaceans, horseshoe crabs, snails, eurypterids, as well as freshwater sharks and rays, bony fish, giant amphibians, and the mysterious Tully monster. Next up, we have a personal favorite, of mine. Pachyrhinosaurus, which is an extinct genus of centrosaurine ceratopsid dinosaur which lived throughout the USA and Canada during the late Cretaceous period some 74 to 68 million years ago. The first remains of Pachyrhinosaurus, consisting of two partial skulls, were unearthed from the sandy clay of the Horseshoe Canyon Formation in Alberta, Canada, in the year 1945 and 1946, respectively, by fossil collector Charles Montram Sternberg. Sternberg dubbed the animal Pachyrhinosaurus canadiensis from the Greek pachy, meaning thick, rhino meaning nose, and sauros meaning lizard, with the specific name honoring the nation it was found in. Since then, over a dozen specimens have been recovered from Canada and Alaska, and today 3 species are considered valid: P. canadensis, P. lacustae, and P. perotorum. The species varied in size, with P. canadensis being the largest, reaching around 19 to 26 feet in length and 6,000 to 8,000 pounds in weight, while P. lacustae and P. perotorum were smaller, at around 12 to 18 feet in length and 4,000 to 6,000 pounds in weight. Instead of horns, their skulls bore massive flattened bosses with a large boss over the nose and a smaller one over the eyes. A prominent pair of horns grew from the frill and extended upwards, and the skull bore several smaller horns or ornaments that vary between individuals and between species. They sported strong jaws with numerous cheek teeth to help them chew tough, fibrous plants. And because Pachyrhinosaurus inhabited such high latitudes, including above the Arctic Circle, it has been speculated that Pachyrhinosaurus would have had a coat of downy insulating feathers to help combat the cold, though where on the body and to what extent it covered is a matter of contention. In life, Pachyrhinosaurus would have inhabited forests, wetlands, coastal plains, and mountainous regions, alongside a variety of organisms such as sharks, rays, sturgeons, bowfins, gars, and other bony fish, large amphibians, reptiles such as turtles, Champsosaurus, Stangerochampsa, the plesiosaur Lyrospondylus, earlier marsupials like Didelphodon, and other dinosaurs such as Edmontonia, Saurolophus, Edmontosaurus, Parksosaurus, Anchiceratops, Stegosaurus, Ornithomimus, Stenikosaurus, or Stenonychosaurus, Albertosaurus, and Nanuqsaurus. One second. Next up, we have Livyatan, which is an extinct genus of macroraptorial sperm whale which lived throughout what is now the southern Pacific during the Tortonian stage of the late Miocene epoch, some 11 to 7 million years ago. The first remains of Livyatan, consisting of a partial skull, several teeth, and a lower jaw, were discovered in the Pisco Formation of Peru, in the coastal desert by Klaas Post, a researcher from the Natural History Museum Rotterdam in the Netherlands, in 2008. Post then brought the specimen to the Museum of Natural History in Lima, Peru, where it was described and named Livyatan in 2010, the English name of the biblical monster Leviathan. However, the specific name Livyatan was also a genus synonym for the mastodon mammoth, so in August 2010 the authors rectified this situation by coining a new genus name for the whale, Livyatan, from the original Hebrew name of the monster. The species name Melvillei is a reference to Herman Melville, the author of the book Moby Dick, which features a gigantic sperm whale as its main antagonist. Since then, several dozen teeth and fragmentary bones thought to belong to Livyatan or a very similar genus of macroraptorial sperm whale have been recovered from Chile, Argentina, South Africa, and Australia, implying that either it or a close relative survived into the Pliocene around 5 million years ago and was present throughout much of the southern hemisphere. Livyatan is estimated to have reached 40 to 60 feet in length and 55 to 65 tons in weight. However, should be noted that currently the exact estimates of Livyatan size is unknown, since only teeth, fragmentary bone, and the hull-type skull are preserved. By comparison, modern sperm whales measure on average 35 to 45 feet long for females and 50 to 65 feet long for males. Large size is probably an anti-predator adaptation and allowed it to feed upon larger prey. Livyatan is the largest fossil sperm whale known and also one of the biggest known predators, having the largest bite of any tetrapod. In life, Livyatan would have swam the oceans of the southern hemisphere, probably in small pods and occupying a niche of apex predator, feeding upon and living alongside other wondrous creatures, such as early beaked baleen and toothed whales like Cetotherium and Odobonosatops, marine crocodilians, large sea turtles such as Pacificheles, seals, dugongs, the aquatic sloth Thalassoconus, seabirds such as Pseudoptopindes and Pelagornis, and large fish such as tuna, rays, and the giant swordfish Xiphorhynchus, and large sharks such as Megalodon. Next up is Compsognathus, which is an extinct genus of small bipedal carnivorous theropod dinosaurs lived throughout what is now Europe during the Tithonian stage of the late Jurassic period, from around 152 to 145 million years ago. The first remains of Compsognathus, consisting of a complete juvenile skeleton, were found in the Bavarian limestone deposits by fossil collector Dr. Joseph Oberndorfer. Oberndorfer lent the specimens to paleontologist Johann A. Wagner, who published a brief description in 1859, where he coined the name Compsognathus longipipes from the Greek compsos, meaning elegant or dainty, gnathos, meaning jaw. Wagner did not recognize Compsognathus as a dinosaur, but instead described it as the most curious form amongst the lizards. It wouldn't be until after 1866, when Oberndorfer's collection was given to the Munich Paleontological State Collection, that Compsognathus was recognized as a dinosaur. In 1868 and 1870, Thomas Huxley would thoroughly examine and describe the specimen, finding that Compsognathus closely resembled Archaeopteryx, and concluded that birds must have evolved from dinosaurs. The specimen has since been studied by many prominent paleontologists, including Orson Charles Marsh, J.G. Brar, and John Ostrom. A second, larger adult specimen was discovered in 1971 in the Portlandian lithographic limestone of Cangers near Nice, France. This specimen was initially considered a separate species of Compsognathus, but has now been determined to be the adult form of longipipes, reaching just 3.5 to 4.5 feet in length and 5 to 7 pounds in weight. Compsognathus was considered to be the smallest known non-avian dinosaur for over a century. However, some dinosaurs discovered later, such as Mahakala and Microraptor, are even smaller. In life, Compsognathus would have inhabited tropical semi-arid low-lying islands throughout what is now Europe, feeding upon insects, crustaceans, fish, small reptiles, and carrion, while itself trying to avoid being preyed upon by pterosaurs, crocodiliforms, other reptiles, and larger dinosaurs. Next up is another personal favorite, Anurognathus. It is a species of small pterosaur that lived throughout what is now Europe during the Tithonian stage of the late Jurassic period, some 151 to 146 million years ago. The first remains of Anurognathus were unearthed from the Solnolfen limestone near Ischstadt, Germany, by Bavarian geologist Ludwig von Amann in 1922. This holotype, consisting of a crushed, relatively complete skeleton on a slab. The counter slab is missing, meaning parts of the skeleton are only visible as impression. Recognizing the importance of this find, Amann gave it to his friend Dr. Ludwig Dolderlein in the Bavarian State Museum of Paleontology and Geology. Dolderlein then formally named and described the specimen Anurognathus ammoni in 1923 with the genus name Anurognathus, coming from the Greek with an, meaning without, ora, meaning tail, and gnathos, meaning jaw, in reference to the usually small tail, with the specific name honoring Amann. Later, a second, more complete specimen of a subadult was found and described by S. Christopher Bennett in 2007, giving a more complete picture of the animal. Reaching around 3 to 4 inches in length, with weighing around 1 to 3 ounces in weight and sporting a 14 to 20 inch wingspan, Anurognathus had a disproportionately large skull for such a small creature. The teeth were small and sharp, and the head was wider than it is long. The eyes are also large and slightly face forward, allowing for some depth perception as binocular vision. The body would have been covered in hair-like pycnofibers, and in life, it is thought that Anurognathus would have had a similar swift flying insectivore lifestyle, fulfilling a similar niche to that of modern bats and nightjars. A study of the eyes and scleral rings that were inside them led towards a crepuscular lifestyle, meaning that Anurognathus would have been most active in the twilight of the dawn and dusk. While this tiny pterosaur would have been an accomplished hunter of insects, Anurognathus may have also been hunted itself by larger pterosaurs, dinosaurs, and early birds. And our modern animal of the week is the Gerenuk, also known as the giraffe gazelle. It is a long-necked antelope native throughout East African countries of Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, and Tanzania. It is the sole member of its genus, Litocranus. It inhabits savannas, scrublands, and dry forests. They are highly social creatures, forming small single-sex herds of 2 to 6 individuals, although all female herds may sometimes contain juveniles. They are diurnal high browsers, which feed upon and get most of their water from leaves, bark, twigs, shoots, herbs, flowers, and fruits of trees and tall shrubs. They are uniquely adapted to reach higher branches better than other gazelles and antelopes by standing erect on their hind legs and elongating their neck. This helps the Gerenuk reach food some 6 to 7 feet off the ground. Gerenuk are preyed upon by African wild dogs, cheetahs, lions, hyenas, and leopards, standing around 2.5 to 3.5 feet tall at the shoulder and measuring 4.5 to 5.5 feet long, and around 60 to 120 pounds in weight. The Gerenuk is a notably tall, slender antelope that resembles gazelles. It is characterized by its long, slender neck and limbs, the flat, wedge-like head, and large, round eyes. Its smooth coat is reddish-brown on the dorsal part and fawn to buff on the lighter flanks, with the underbelly and the insides of the legs being cream in color. The eyes and mouth are surrounded by white fur. Females have a dark patch on their crown. The horns are present only in males and are lyre-like S-shaped, curving backwards and slightly forward. Gerenuk are highly polyamorous and will typically mate with any other unrelated Gerenuk they come across. After a 165-day pregnancy, mothers will typically give birth to 1 to 2 calves, which are able to walk within minutes of birth. The young are weaned at around 1 year of age, but may remain with their mother's herd until reaching sexual maturity around the ages of 2 to 3 years. Under ideal conditions, a Gerenuk may live upwards of 13 years. As always, take care to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals.